Welcome to Mother Daughter Projects. I'm Steph.
I'm Vicki, and today we're going to spend the weekend refreshing the bathrooms at Steph's house.
So we have 2 days to refresh 2 bathrooms with paint and hardware. Can we do it? I guess we'll find out.
Along the way, we'll share some tips and what we learned and some things we learned about how latex paint dries. So let's get started.
Here's a look at the guest bathroom before. From quick glance, it doesn't seem too bad, but when you take a closer look, it's definitely dirty and there are some rough spots and indentions from old hardware, and the hinges don't match the handles. And it's the same situation in my primary bathroom. They could definitely use some fresh paint and some new hardware. Prep work is key to getting a project like this done in a weekend. We ordered some hinges online because they were out of them locally, and we found the handles at our local Home Depot, and they're a simple design and they're pretty much the same I had before, but these are black to match the hinges. Make sure you have counted and recounted the number of hinges and handles that you need for your bathroom. You'll also want some painter's tape, a good quality roller like this one that's ideal for cabinets, doors, and metal. You also want a good quality paint. We're using an older Bayer paint that we used for my kitchen cabinets and it works perfect. You also want a good quality brush for details and cutting in work. Once you have all the materials, it's time to clean out the cabinets. I have a couple of these collapsible crates and they are great for temporary storage. With everything out, I started to label the doors and drawers. I also removed the hardware as I went. I'm using an electric screwdriver, which is great for this type of project as it's not too powerful and it's small in size. You may notice that I'm using 3 different versions because we're doing a comparison video at the same time, but they all work well. The hinges I currently have, I could not find a new version of, so my new hinges will need to be screwed into the cabinets a little differently. But we know it will work well because these are the same hinges and the same doors that we used in my kitchen. With all the doors removed in the guest bathroom, we moved them to the garage and the first step was to clean them. Mom is using crud cutter and a magic eraser to clean and a microfiber cloth to wipe away. I did the same process with the frame inside. Next, we lightly sanded the cabinets so there was a little grip for the paint. Mom is following with a wet dry vac to collect the dust. There's still a little dust on the cabinets and we didn't have a tack cloth, so we're improvising with press and seal wrap and it worked. Next, Mom painted the cabinets. We let them dry for about 2 hours before we applied a second coat. You could see Mom is using a brush for the details and sides and a roller for the big areas. The brand of this brush is called Stinger and it has a nice straight edge for cutting in. We almost forgot the medicine cabinet, so be mindful of all the things that need to be painted. With the first coat dry, we're moving on to the primary bathroom to repeat the same process. This bathroom gets used way more, and when I moved in, I happened to put down shelf liner in the drawers, and you can see it got really dirty, so here I'm going to remove it and put down new liners to protect the insides. This spot here is decorative, but it can be removed for easy painting. Again, we clean everything with crud cutter and a magic eraser. We're also wearing a mask and gloves as this is a chemical. As Mom painted a door, I would move it and put another one in place, and this really sped up the process. Mom is using a roller cart to easily move around the cabinet doors for easy painting. She got a first coat on all the primary bathroom cabinets, and I moved on to adding the hardware to the guest bathroom cabinets. These are the hinges we're going to use. There are 2 hinges per pack, plus the screws needed for installation and 2 foam bumpers. But I would not use these foam bumpers because I did use them in my kitchen, and over the years they have left a dark mark on the white cabinets. So instead we bought some white felt bumpers that should work better. And this just helps to soften the sound of the closing cabinets. I took all the hardware out of the packaging before I got started. I lined up the hinge where the old hinge used to sit and marked the holes. Then I drilled pilot holes, cleaned up the sawdust, and attached the new hinge. I also attached the handles. With all the guest bathroom doors finished, we attached them to the cabinet. I put a paint stick down underneath the door to give it a little bit of height and then held the door in place for Mom to mark the placement. I drilled pilot holes and attached the hinges. With the guest bathroom done, we continue to paint the primary bathroom cabinets, and I added shelf liner to the drawers. For the bottom of the cabinets, I'm going to use leftover G-Floor vinyl garage flooring that we had left over when we installed it in Mom's garage. It's literally been folded up for years in my garage, and that's why there's some fold marks on it. I measured and cut it to size, then laid it out flat under a piece of glass so it would continue to flatten out. But it will also flatten out more when it's in the space. This is a great liner as it's waterproof and easy to clean. With the other cabinet doors dry, I repeated the same process with the hinges and handles and installed onto the cabinet frame. And here's a good look at the before and after. It's subtle, but it's nice and fresh and clean. And here are the white felt bumpers that I added to the doors.
What we learned. Now, we didn't do it in 2 days. It was about 2 days and a little bit of a third day. And that was because we didn't have all the prep that we mentioned in the video that you need to have.
The first thing was I thought we had everything we needed, including a roller. And when we got started, we didn't have the roller we needed. So we had to make a trip to the Home Depot to pick up that roller. And then later on, we had to go back to the Home Depot because we failed to correctly figure out how many handles we needed, so we had to go get another handle. So another trip, a little delay.
Now, the biggest thing that takes time with this project is the drying time. So we did 2 coats and everything, but before we did a second coat, we always had to make sure that it was dry to the touch before we put on another coat. And ultimately, latex paint doesn't actually cure for 14 to 30 days fully. So obviously we didn't wait for that amount of time to put them back on. But I did leave the cabinets open for a few days after we finished this project to make sure it was curing nicely.
Now we did have another delay with those rollers. Even a good quality roller is going to have some lint on it. So I did initially get the lint off of one of them, and it didn't do it well enough, so we had to delay because we had gotten lint in the paint and had to redo that one, do a little sanding. So our advice is to use a painter's tape, but be really aggressive with it to get all that lint off because it will save you a lot of trouble.
After a couple days, I actually realized that we put 2 of the doors on in the wrong place in the guest bathroom, and they weren't completely fitting right, and I thought it was just because the paint hadn't cured yet, but it was incorrect, that's why. So we did label the doors, but some of the labels got off, so I would say make sure you look at the design of the door, because the 2 doors that meet actually have a different edge than the door that is by itself, and if we had realized that, we would have put the doors on correctly just by look over by the label. So you can label them, but also look at the doors to make sure you know how they're supposed to go back. But overall, I would say this is a project that can be done in 2 days. Just make sure you do your prep work. And I'm really happy with how it all turned out. They look great. Now, I did paint them with white, which is what they already were painted with. So it doesn't make as much of a grand, reveal since it's the same color. But seeing them in person, they're so much better than how they were. They are so much more cleaner, and the hardware I love so much more. It's not mismatched anymore, so yeah. It's pretty nice. But let me know, would you have done a different color in this bathroom over the white? Do you have a bathroom that may need a refresh? Let us know in the comments. And thanks for joining. If you want to see more projects from us, be sure to visit us at motherdaughterprojects.com. And subscribe to our newsletter. We send it out once a week, and it's written by this lady right here. And this is Tosh, my greyhound. She joined us.
Because we're sitting at her level.
Because we're sitting at greyhound level, dog level.
I think she needs to be right here. So.
And she does, because she's in charge.
Yes.